All right, we are recording. Okay, so thank you all for making time, and I wanted to just give you an update. Obviously, the big issue now is getting the BRFSS data, and I sent out multiple sort of follow-ups as I've gotten responses. So I sent out essentially a bulk email, or basically mail merge in the email, 42 to 42 different BRFSS state coordinators, and have received all but I've gotten responses from basically 30 of them. And at this point, I feel like we need a card-carrying statistician because I feel like I'm faking it too much. How's that sound?
Very honest.
Yeah. There are so many, as I don't know how far into the weeds anybody else has gotten in on this data before, but there are just so many variations that I feel like we can either go down the road of really making this a good, pure use of BRFSS data. We could use that estimation that the faculty member, where is she out? I think out in Seattle, Dwyer Lindgren, that she did. With some, obviously there are limitations to that because they, assume they estimated plugging in, demographics and rurality and things like that to arrive at the estimation. We could do that, or we could go without. I mean, potentially. Who just joined in?
This is Jim. Hi.
Hey, Jim. Thanks for joining in.
Sure.
Sure. We're just talking about, next step here. So we could. The other one is purely qualitative and just find the places that seem to have successfully changed. The places that seem to be very strong in rural areas in getting people to be physically active. So I was just going to open it up and see what everybody thinks at this point.
Well, this is Cindy. I'm not really a statistician either, and I read through that Excel sheet, and it's hard for me to know, wow, it sounds like many of them did different things. So I wouldn't know how to. I would agree from my point of view, we need someone who could determine, can we just go with that even though each state's done things slightly differently? Is it enough different? And I couldn't quite follow all of that from the email either. The last response from the person from UW, her very last email, I couldn't quite understand what she was getting at there.
Okay. Other thoughts? So again, this is the idea of identifying the positive outliers at the county level. I think it would lengthen things if we tried to go the purest route and try to get into the data and clean it all up and get a true card-carrying statistician to get into it. We could talk with Laura, I think her name is, from UW, and have her explain her work in more detail. There are many different routes, or we could go and just go start going qualitative and asking, our resources in specific, in states that are very rural. I don't know.
So I guess here's
Go ahead.
Cindy, I think we lost you.
No, I was saying Jim can go ahead. I didn't mean
Jim.
to cut him off. So.
All right.
No problem. I apologize. I stepped in a few minutes late. So on first pass, I would go with the Dwyer Lindgren data it seems to be all there. And you say there's some limitations, but I guess I have questions about what those limitations are. Maybe you discuss them, but exactly what are those limitations, and are they such that we want to use those data, and versus, and the other option is, I guess I have questions about what is the second option, that find a way to pull in a statistician to do the analysis we're asking for. Meaning what? Meaning that we collect. I know I saw you, Christian. You've been working on getting input from the various states. Are you talking about taking those data and doing something novel and new with them versus the existing data set?
Basically.
Well, off-base MI, yeah.
And honestly, it would take. I think I don't know about others, but I'm definitely in over my head in understanding the responses, and so I think somebody that has more experience with the BRFSS data would be good to have advise at this point.
Has Laura asked? Has she said, "Hey, I'm willing to help," or has she been asked if she's willing to help? Or
yes, she had another appointment right now during this time, or else she said she would have been here. So I think the main caveats, she wrote up a lot of the, I'm going to look at her methods again. So there's some bit of circular logic in that they estimated rural prevalence of physical activity even in the rural areas, but they assumed, they made an assumption based on rurality to begin with. So we don't have actual data, and I think they basically assumed that rural physical activity would be lower. So I did send the paper out to someone who has worked with BRFSS data before, who was actually one of the people that helped Courtney Pilkerton, who talked to us about her work, to give a more detailed assessment of the methodology. But I think this has been an issue with these BRFSS data for years now. So if as much as I'd love to solve that problem, I'm not sure I'm the cat to do it, or if our group is the group to do that.
Right. Okay, thank you, Christian. That's helpful.
Sure. So
the data that Laura has are put together are publishable. I get part of this depends on, you mentioned it, and I was thinking the same thing. On this first paper, how much work do we want to put into this versus, to develop something new versus having some success with the group and using some data that are available?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Christian, I want to back up just a little bit, because I think if I'm thinking through this from our earlier conversations, I mean our goal isn't necessarily to do a really rigorous sort of modeling or statistical analysis of these data, more so to use this as sort of a launching point to identify some of these deviant cases. Mm-hmm. And so so I think that if we've got some type of data, and if she can sort of help us extract this picture, if you will, of where are these sort of rural areas that are really demonstrating high levels of physical activity, that we can go in and sort of investigate further. I think that this is as good a starting point as any, and I don't know that we need to reinvent the wheel, since we're not necessarily trying to, really. I mean, I think there's going to be limitations in whatever process we use to identify these, but this seems more systematic than, again, going to states and just sort of asking, hey, can you give us some examples?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good point. How do others feel about it?
I've been tiptoeing around that, but that's what I've been saying. Yeah.
Well, just see if we can get to consensus, basically.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yep. Luann, any additional comments?
Well, I mean, to start to do what she did would be lengthy, or to redo that because it's very intense. And I'm just looking at her spreadsheet and their supplementary material,
Right.
where they have the prevalence of reported physical activity meeting guidelines for all counties. I mean, can you use that to pick out the deviant counties?
Yeah, that was the goal. I mean, she has it for 01, 03, 05, 7, 9, and 11. So for male and female in every county.
Yeah.
So there is definitely some circular logic, basically assuming that rural areas will be less active. But maybe we could just go with it and admit to the limitations. Even in the paper, she wrote up that this is a previously used model and well accepted. And like I said, I sent this out to someone who has done small area estimation and is pretty strong in it. So hopefully we get his comment soon. So I think if it's a consensus of the group, the path of least resistance is to definitely use what Laura Dwyer Lindgren has produced and just add in there our rural definition and start to identify positive deviants. So I'm definitely okay with that. and we can just cite this, the previous work and the supplemental material and the limitations that were in that. Do we feel the need to have Dr. Dwyer Lindgren on a call, or should we just move forward?
I think it would be a good idea to have her on a call just to sort of explain kind of what we're thinking and if she's got any ideas for the best ways. Plus, I feel like, she might be able to catch some major, I guess, pitfalls that we might fall in using this process.
Okay.
Plus, I'm just interested in it, so.
Yeah. Okay, is that a consensus to invite her to the next call, probably?
This is Cindy. Yeah, I think it would make sense. So she, can explain, and we can explain what we're doing, and then just make sure, that seems like a good plan to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we need to start there. Let's talk with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll put out that invitation, and I think you can see the email correspondence. She's willing to help out, and just wasn't able to make it today. So,
right.
Yeah, I think somebody sent me one paper that led me to this one. So actually Nancy O'Hara Tompkins from a couple of our other groups sent me a different paper, and this led me to do a quick search and found another one. I just found the right term finally. Okay, so that means we need to start working toward the rural definition to put in here. So, Mike, we will turn to your expertise probably in the coming months as well. Does everybody have? I'm going to show the spreadsheet that was in the supplemental material. Does everybody see my screen? If you're okay. So.
Yes. This is Cindy. I somehow in all my materials from you, I'm not finding the actual publication she had. Is it possible to resend after this call?
Yep, the actual publication. So I'll tell you what. I want to make sure. Can you see the screen now, Cindy?
Yes, I can. Yes, and I have this. You sent this. I have this. Okay,
I will send you that. The original publication, okay? Mike, if you look at this, I'm going to just hide the older column. Well, the older columns might be important, but if we're looking at 2011, essentially it feels like we need to just slap in whatever code out here in another column if I enter rurality there, right?
Yeah, I mean, and basically, we need to come up with our definition. Are we going to dichotomize, yes or no? Are we going to have degrees? Are we going to look at, say, percent rural look at the first sort of quartile of counties based on concentration of rurality. So I think just figure what makes the most sense in terms of how we're going to classify, um, based on kind of our feelings of the definition. So, and typically one way I might sort of take my first stab might be to do the sort of percent of the population living in sort of census-defined rural areas, and then look at a quartile, or quartile might be too big, too many counties, but something of that effect. Look at the top, first 10% or something like that in terms of most rural, and then build from that. But we also could go with a classification, yes or no, but that's sometimes a little harder to defend unless we've got a clear example, particularly looking at a national sample.
Okay. So probably, I mean, you always want to start with higher level of data, right? So if we have a percentage population in rural, we can chop it from there, categorize it from there.
Yeah, and I think the problem with the classification is usually at the county level, we're going to be using one of the something that has its origins in the OMB classification, leading to the USDA classification or something like that, but they all use the same kind of principle, and that just gets problematic, particularly out west with counties. It's less of an issue in the east, but it's problematic when you've got the large counties that are considered metro, and they might be classified differently than the population actually is.
Okay. Yeah, I think even you've said in the past, as long as we can justify our reasoning. So,
yep.
Is there? I know in the past you talk about the school data. Is that worth considering, or no? You want to just go with this percent of population?
Yeah, I don't see how we can. I mean, it's better on a smaller scale than the county, because
right.
You're looking at school districts, and again, not always. I mean, here in North Carolina, it works because most of the school districts align with the counties, with the exception of only 2 out of 115 school districts. But in other states, I know it's quite different. So you've got multiple districts within counties, and it's harder to scale that up to the county level.
Okay. I will definitely defer to you on this one. I know you've done quite a bit on it. So, any other comments about? Sounds like Mike is suggesting percent of population in rural areas, and then we can chop it into deciles, quartiles, whatever from there. Any concerns with that? And that's county level, yeah. So at the county level.
Yeah.
Anybody with concerns on that?
This is Cindy. That seems like a good approach.
Okay. Okay. So look at that. Settled. We're ready. We're after all that, we're ready. Oh, we're so academic. We just talk and talk and talk, and then finally decide.
And again, I think, I mean, if that's the problem, I mean, again, this is not, our process here is to find these, deviant cases, and so it's just a process of identifying. So it's not like we're saying this is how we're defining them. This is, I mean, we could get into find a county that, when we look at more qualitatively, say this really doesn't fit, but this one may. So I think it just, like Christian, like you said, having a little bit of a wider pool to examine from, I think is going to be helpful.
Okay. Where is that? Do I have the percent population in rural? I think I already have that.
Yeah, you may. It depends. I mean, you can download it from the census and match it to the county spreadsheet as well.
I think Courtney sent. I think I have that. I will let you know, Mike, if I don't have that.
Okay.
Or does somebody have it handy? Just want to send it out real quick, or?
And it would be nice to kind of match the census to the year, or it's close to it,
Yeah, good point.
that we have data for.
Very good point. Okay. I know I have. So I will look around, and if I don't have it, I will let you know, Mike.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. I'm just typing up a note here. Any other? Okay. So Cindy, I will send the original publication to you. Any other thoughts for today? Anything else to talk about, or should we look at scheduling a next call and bringing in Dr. Dwyer Lindgren? Sounds like we should start looking at scheduling.
Yeah, I mean, I think once we kind of settle on this, then we could move on to, what we're going to do with those counties we find that are the deviants and what, next steps there. But I think getting all these methods squared away makes sense. I don't know if we should wait to find out some dates that Lindgren is available before or should we come up with some dates all of us are available? I'm not sure the best approach.
Maybe we could get a range that we could all block out, and not too broad a range, and then just offer that to her. So I'm looking into April. Do Tuesday afternoons generally work, or Tuesday at this time? So I'm looking at like April 18th or April 25th.
Yeah, typically that works. The 18th may be a little tricky for me because it's my kid's spring break, and I'm keeping one of them, and one of them's going out of town. So
got it. How about April? So I'm looking at the week of April 24th then.
that works well for me.
Okay.
I'll be away, but you could, certainly the meeting could go on. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Cindy?
sorry, I was on mute. So April 25th is now what we're looking at. That would be fine with me.
Okay.
I mean, at this same time, right?
Yes. So maybe I could propose somewhere in the 2 to 4 o'clock range, or 2 to 4 o'clock Eastern time. Sorry. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that works for me on that date.
Mike?
Yep, that works for me.
Luann?
Yep, that would be fine.
Okay, fantastic. And I know, Luann, we had brought you in with the promise of chewing through some data, so this might change things. So you let me know. I wouldn't be offended if you said, all right, forget it, buddy. But yeah.
If you need any, I'll hang on for a little bit in case you need some computing help. But otherwise, I'll bow out when you get to the other things. But
okay, yeah, you never know what we might need, so I appreciate it. So we will look, if you guys don't mind, then holding April 25th from 11 to 1 o'clock Pacific. How about that? I'll start with Pacific time. 2 to 4 Eastern.
Yeah, I've got that held. Should we do a couple more times?
I'm looking at my calendar for that week. Probably it wouldn't be until Friday. Again, my afternoon, same kind of time frame, or even earlier in the afternoon for me.
Okay, so on Fridays, I'm in the clinic until 1, which is 4 Eastern.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, I got patients, so basically I can't do Friday mornings.
Got it. How about Thursday, 27th?
Yes, that looks good for me.
Same time frame, 11 to 1 Pacific, 2 to 4 Eastern.
This is Cindy. For me, that works.
Okay, Mike, how about you?
Remind me of that date again. Sorry.
27th of April.
Yeah, I can't do Thursdays at all.
Okay. Well, this will make it easy. I'll give her one choice.
Yeah,
Tuesday the 25th.
Yeah, I teach all day on Thursday, so unfortunately.
Wow, that's a long day.
Yeah, it is. It's a really long day.
The only other option is Monday the 24th. Did we talk about that?
Yeah, I'm good in the afternoon. I've got a CDC meeting all morning, but afternoon is good for me.
Okay, Cindy?
24.
I could do it starting at noon Pacific, which is 3 Eastern.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, then that would be basically the 3 to 4 o'clock. I have to get home for my son's baseball practice. So.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that'll be two options then, if you could hold those, everyone.
Okay, so just to clarify, the second one is Monday the 24th from
from
3 to
noon
4.
to 1 Pacific.
noon to 1 Pacific. Okay, I was trying to figure it out. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So noon to 1 Pacific on the 24th, or 11 to 1 Pacific on the 25th. So 3 to 4 or 2 to 4 Eastern. Okay. I will get in touch with her, and then in the meantime, I will look for the virality data to add into, basically just add it into Dwyer Lindgren's supplemental material. Do we need a file sharing space or something, or are we doing okay?
I mean, if we want OHSU subscribes to that box, which is a secure system, I'm happy to set up. I think people, even if you're not at OHSU, can be part of the box. I'm happy to set that up if we think we need it.
Okay. Anybody else have thoughts about whether we need one or not? Hearing nothing, maybe we'll just go without it for now and see what happens. But what I will do is make sure to distribute Dwyer Lindgren's paper and supplemental material just to make sure everybody has it. I think I've sent it before, but let's just make sure. I'll send it out with some very thin minutes from today. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order today?
I'll just say I appreciate all the work you've been putting into this.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
I agree.
you. I appreciate it. Luckily, I found something that might make all that effort not necessary.
You did. That was a good score.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as somebody else didn't find it. That's a hey, Christian, by the way. Anyway, the more you dig, the more you find. So
There you go.
okay, guys, thank you so much for making time. I will send out minutes with attachments and start looking for the, setting up the data file, basically.
All right, sounds good.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
All right.
Happy
Thanks, Christian.
Tuesday.
Yep.
See you
All
guys.
right.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.